Thank you. Wow. Okay, so the idea is we leave this open until after this song. And then we close that and we open these. And I shut that off. That's the routine. Let me have a D there. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Mr. Paramahansa Pradikacharya Ashtotar to the Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Pradikacharya Ashtotar to the Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Works. Namaste to Prabhu. Please take the book, unless you have your device. But anyways, we have the... Yeah, the verses, okay. Okay. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamadiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtapayesha Bhagreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. A regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam. By rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 On this 19th day of July 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 3, the status quo, chapter 24, the renunciation of Kardama Muni, text number 40. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamaning sarvakarmanam vitadishye yayachasau bhayam cha tatarishyati. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamaning sarvakarmanam vitadishye yayachasau bhayam cha tatarishyati. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamaning sarvakarmanam vitadishye yayachasau bhayam cha tatarishyati. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamaning sarvakarmanam vitadishye yayachasau bhayam cha tatarishyati. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamaning sarvakarmanam vitadishye yachaso bhayam cha tatarishyati. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamaning sarvakarmanam vitadishye yayachasau bhayam cha tatarishyati. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamaning sarvakarmanam vitadishye yayachasau bhayam cha tatarishyati. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamanim sarvakarmanam vitadishye yayachasau bhayam cha tatarishyati. Matra adhyatmikim vidyam shamanim sarvakarmanam vitadishye yayachasau bhayam cha tatarishyati. Damara, just leave a foot. Thank you. Matre, to my mother. Adhyatmikim, which opens the door of spiritual life. Vidyam, knowledge. Shamanim, ending. Sarvakarmanam, all fruitive activities. Vitadishye, I shall give. Yaya, by which. Cha, also. Asau, she. Bhayam, fear. Cha, also. Atitarishyati, will overcome. So Lord Kapila Dev has continued to speak to Kardama Muni. I shall also describe this sublime knowledge, which is the door to spiritual life, to my mother, so that she also can attain perfection and self-realization, ending all reactions to fruitive activities. Thus she also will be freed from all material fear. Purport. Kardama Muni was anxious about his good wife, Devahuti, while leaving home, and so the worthy son promised that not only would Kardama Muni be freed from the material entanglement, but Devahuti would also be freed by receiving instruction from her son. A very good example is set here. The husband goes away, taking the sannyas order for self-realization, but his representative, the son, who is equally educated, remains at home to deliver the mother. A sannyasi is not supposed to take his wife with him. At the vanaprastha stage of retired life, or the stage midway between householder life and renounced life, one may keep his wife as an assistant without sex relations. But in the sannyas order of life, one cannot keep his wife with him. Otherwise, a person like Kardama Muni could have kept his wife with him, and there would have been no hindrance to his prosecution of self-realization. Kardama Muni followed the Vedic injunction that no one in sannyas life can have any kind of relationship with women. But what is the position of a woman who is left by her husband? She is entrusted to the son, and the son promises that he will deliver his mother from entanglement. A woman is not supposed to take sannyas. So-called spiritual societies concocted in modern times give sannyas even to women, although there is no sanction in the Vedic literature for a woman's accepting sannyas. Otherwise, if it were sanctioned, Kardama Muni could have taken his wife and given her sannyas. The woman must remain at home. She has only 3 stages of life: dependency on her father in childhood, dependency on the husband in youth, and in old age, dependency on the grown-up son, such as Kapila. In old age, the progress of woman depends on the grown-up son. The ideal son, Kapila Muni, is assuring his father of the deliverance of his mother, so that his father may go peacefully without anxiety for his good wife. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So one of the difficulties in spreading Krishna consciousness in the modern age is that all of these understandings, these restrictions and position of ladies is completely unheard of in the modern age. They are always dissatisfied because they feel restricted. They're exploited horribly in many ways and abused. And so when we preach Krishna consciousness, and oftentimes for instance, how many times in my little class at night have I had to say, "Can you sit over here, Prabhu, because that's the ladies' side," or "Can you sit over there, Mataji, because that's the women's side." I usually don't use Mataji because they don't even know what that means. So, just the basic principle of keeping men and women separate, so as to facilitate the better concentration on the transcendental message, even that is often controversial. What to speak of this understanding of how women are constitutionally different, that they need protection in this age, in any age. And as Prabhupada said, they have 3 stages of life. The idea that they're wandering out like sannyasis is unheard of. They'll just be exploited and it won't work. So this understanding is one of the things that Srila Prabhupada introduced. Now he also made concessions, as he explains right in his purports. If you read the Adi Leela, chapter 7. Adi Leela chapter 7 came out before the other parts of the book. Prabhupada wanted that out because it contains a wonderful refutation of Mayavad philosophy. Lord Chaitanya meets Prakashananda Saraswati, and then Bhaktisiddhanta was just going for it, and Prabhupada basically translated a lot of those commentaries. So it came out first, but at the beginning of that volume, the beginning of that chapter, it's all about the Panchatattva. And it's all about how, Lord Chaitanya broke open the storehouse of love of Godhead, and with his associates, the Panchatattva, they spread it everywhere. Huh? Plundered. They plundered the storehouse, thank you. And in one of those purports, famous purport, he is basically, he's in a debate, if you will, with his godbrothers who had criticized him because of Brahmacharini ashram and all of these things, and him Prabhupada performing marriages, which is not ever done before by sannyasis, But Prabhupada saw that the main point is that Krishna consciousness must be spread. And this is the field that I'm spreading it in, Western world. They know nothing of the culture. And so he opened his doors. He opened at the 26nd Avenue, and they streamed in. Who did they stream in? The boys and the girls, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the single girls, And so what was Prabhupada going to do? Ask the ladies, well, are you being protected by your brother? Are you? It doesn't work that way. So it was like, just chant Hare Krishna, and we'll go from there. And that was the point. And so Prabhupada, actually, some of his early disciples, I read most of that biography of Yamuna. She had incredible duties and responsibilities, and Prabhupada trusted her with so much. I remember I was at the memorial in L.A. Somehow I was up there for her memorial after she left the body a few years ago. And Shamasunda was there, and one or two of maybe one of the others, of course Dinatarani was there, a few others. But Shamasunda, when he spoke, because it was famous for the pioneering in London, you had three couples. You didn't have three sannyasis, you had three couples going, performing austerities, definitely on the level of sannyasi. And we hear so much about the wonderful book by Rancher. It's an incredible story. But what he said was that it was Yamuna who really was the temple president. She was the one who got everybody up, chanting, and so forth, keeping everything going. And otherwise, they wouldn't have succeeded. In other words, she was really the staunch. And in so many ways, the austerity she performed, the preaching she did. So, and it was kind of, out of the Vedic culture. I mean, she was married for a while, but basically most of her preaching was done as the lone lady, And she tells the story in there about how she finally had to realize that, with the growing of the movement, and especially in India, she had to step back a little bit. Because whenever Prabhupada spoke in San Francisco or New York or London, or whatever, she was right up front. She was right up front, drinking in all the nectar. So it was the Chutananda, I think, who had lived in India, a little before everyone came. And she was sitting up front. It was a big pandal, and everyone there. And he said to her, "Do you see where all the women are sitting in the back?" And she was like shocked, and she brought it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada didn't argue with it. He said, now we have, in India especially, you have to observe these etiquette. So ISKCON, is still struggling with all of the things. Obviously, the ladies, where the ladies fit in, their role in society. But here you can see the ideal. The ideal is a Devahuti. Now, it's nice. There's kind of a theme here, because Devahuti was married to Swayambhuva Manu. The Kardamuni. Swayambhuva is the father. He knew that, and somehow it was transmitted, I don't know how, that Kardamuni wanted to be married. He was meditating severe, austerities. And he brought his super qualified daughter. He also brought his wife with him. This is clear. And he said, well, here's your perfectly qualified wife for you, And Kardamuni accepted, and he also consulted the wife and the daughter, it was all. And then she was married. And as we explained, but then it was kind of odd, because then the marriage went on, but then he just went back to meditating, and she's just serving him for a long time, But finally, at a certain point, he said, well, this is, she's gotten so thin, and she's gotten the dreadlocks, and she's following the principle, just serving me. but really we should progress with the marriage. And so, he created that incredible flying airplane, flying city, and then he was able to, by his mystic powers, renew her beauty and health, under the water and so forth. And then off they went, and they cavorted. They enjoyed in the heavenly spots, and what came out of that was 9 daughters, and eventually, and then he was ready to take sannyas, and then she said, "Wait a minute, who's going to take?" Basically, then Kapila Dev was born. So, and then now he's ready to take sannyas, and Kapila Dev, there's no record here of any childhood of Kapila Dev, he is there, he manifests. So now the next stage, but Devahuti is a central part of this whole pastime. And here there's this great concern for her welfare. He's not just going off, Kapila Dev is assuring him, because he knows that he's concerned, that she will be, I'm going to give her this knowledge, this Sankhya Yoga, I'm going to teach it to her, and she'll be achieving, the final goal of life and achieve perfection as well. So with that, now Kardama Muni, who's obviously a very ethical, and caring husband, but he's now moving on to the next stage, and now with a peaceful mind he can take sannyas. So that's what this particular verse is all about. Now, what he says here is, I'm going to describe the sublime knowledge, which is the door to spiritual life. And so the understanding is, oftentimes we hear about these doors opening, right? Mahatsevam dvaramahu vimuktes. Or the other way, Krishna says, Trivadham nabakasedam dwaram nashanamapana. The 3 gates, the 3 doors leading to hell, lust, anger, and greed. But serving Mahatmas opens up the door to liberation. So what are these doors? The word dwara means, of course, door, but it also means an opportunity. It means a metaphorical door opening up. And we need to go through, have those doors presented to us, and we need to walk through them. Because in our present state, we're kind of in a prison house, a prison house of ignorance. And we don't even know it. This is the thing. This world, I was just working on the first canto, and Prabhu uses this analogy several times, very well known, how the living entity in this world, in the conditioned state, is bound hand and foot. And the real binding is that he doesn't even know he's bound. You go to the end of the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and you find that wonderful section on lust. And what Arjuna asks, what is it that impels one to act against his own interests, even though he knows that? It's just like you're forced. And Krishna answers, Kama esha, Krodesha, Rajoguna, Samudvaha, Mahashano, Mahapapa, Vidyanam, Yavaidinam. Here's your enemy, Arjuna. Not across no man's land there, but it's inside. It's the material desire, it's kama, which is followed by anger, always, because kama is unlimited, it burns like fire, it's never satisfied. So naturally, when your desires are impeded, you become angry. And all of this, avritam jnanametina, covers your knowledge. So in that state, which is the normal state of conditioned life, one doesn't know any other state of being. He thinks this is what life is all about. Mode of passion, getting and spending and working and fighting to try to just eke out a living, whatever. 99.99% of the people have no idea that there is a whole other way of life, and that there is a goal of human life. It's not just as Prabhupada says, flapping, for some years and then just death. So that door must be opened and shown to us by someone who's already liberated. In other words, in this case, it's God himself in the form of Kapila Dev. Same thing with Arjuna. But Krishna's representative, who's enlightened and is really a devotee, they can show us this door and show us how to open it, and give us the entranceway into the house of bhakti. Prabhupada sometimes calls it like that. They're just moving over the threshold into the house of bhakti. So our job, what comes out of this verse is this caring. Kapila Dev cares about Kardama Muni and of course about his mother, Devahuti. But he wants to allay his anxiety that Devahuti is going to be taken care of. Kardama Muni cares about his mother and didn't leave until Kapila Dev was there. So this caring heart, this compassionate heart is characteristic of a Vaishnava, what to speak of Krishna himself. Kapila Dev is an ocean of compassion. And that's in such short supply in today's world. There's a huge uproar in this country, you know. I follow these things. The healthcare system, you know. This is so-called healthcare, you know. So this is one of our main points, right? Why the material world is miserable. Disease. And so what happens with disease? Well, we try to fix a disease or allay a disease or cure it, or at least palliative something, you know. And that one of the things about modern science is that it's come up with all of these drugs and these incredible treatments and fancy machines that cost a fortune, that 90% of them, I think, are used for the last year of life to try to prolong it a little more.
80% is spent in the last 6 months.
80% in the last 6 months. And, you know, very expensive, too, if you can afford it. You know, in the hospital every day, thousands of dollars, the treatments, they overcharge, they do whatever they want. It's impossible. All to try to, you know, solve, because you can't solve it, but at least push it back, disease, and of course death. So, but what do you see? You see that, you know, the doctors, right? People want to become a doctor, a kid wants to become a doctor. And generally it's because, well, I want to do good. I want to alleviate misery, you know? So now, but what's happened with all of this commercialization and monetization of the thing is that the doctors, many of them become cruel. You know, it's just a question of money. They'll overcharge you by thousands and thousands of dollars if they think they can squeeze out, you know, the money from you. And if not, then or look at this whole thing where, you know, they're ready to throw 22 million people under the bus. You know, these are poor people. You know, they're victims of, you know, their karma's due, and but no health care. You know, or you have to worry. You know, what happens is you postpone it because you can't afford it, and then it gets worse, and then you go to the doctor. You've got, you know, whatever you've got is much worse and difficult to treat. You know? So what are we're witnessing that? It's all out in for everybody to see. These guys in the government are paid off by these rich guys who don't want to pay for the poor people to have medicine. It's simple as that. And so they came this close to passing something that basically, you know, but people were in an uproar. You know, they're not in an uproar about their government bombing people and killing thousands and millions of people overseas. That's, you know, it's not that they're compassionate, but it's hitting close to home. My healthcare, you know. So, but what's so disturbing, or what's so graphic, is the blatant lack of caring and compassion that this kind of a culture, which is based on exploitation, breeds in people. You know. So Krishna consciousness is just the opposite. We're trying to first of all reform our own consciousness and hearts, so that we can you know, acquire the qualities of a devotee, you know, tatikshava, karunika, suridak sarvadehinam. These are the qualities of a sadhu, a sadhu devotee. Tolerance. Who has tolerance? Our so-called president is the emblem of intolerance. Any little slight insult and it goes on a Twitter campaign. You can't stand it. You know, this is the sign of like a, you know, pre-adolescent personality. You know, unformed, uncultured, like crazy. The demons are like that too. You know, this is demonic. Any little slight, you know, and they'll come down on you, throw you into the gulag, you know, whatever. But just see the devotee, titikshava, karunika. They go together. Tolerant. You have to be tolerant. You go out on Harinam, you know, you just walk down. Of course, nowadays it's a little different. I think people who are accustomed. Part of it, I think, is we lasted so long. You know, the fact that we, you know, 40 years, 50 years now, you know, we've kind of become part of the culture. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to try to preach the message, then you're going to get all kinds of opposition. Because you're challenging people at the very root of what they think is most important. My own aggrandizement, my own pleasure. But you're saying, no. That's actually harmful for you. So and you're telling everything that you think is off. In that famous verse by Prabhu Saraswati, "Oh dear sir, you're so intelligent. Now please give up everything you believe and take this Lord Chaitanya's mercy." But that's what we're faced with. So you have to be tolerant, but in that tolerance, you have to maintain your compassion. Prabhupada gives the example of the doctor comes into the hospital room. The person has a serious fever. They're delirious. And they see the doctor, he's coming, he's going to inject. They say, the doctor is the enemy, and they fight him off, punch him, throw some cup at him or something. And so, what does the doctor do? Turn on his heel and go out? Well, he's hopeless, just write him off, do not revive on the door. No, he realizes, he's not in his right mind, so we'll have to somehow, come back again later or how or other. But we have to give him the medicine because otherwise he'll die. So that's the idea of the devotee. How much did Prabhupada have to tolerate to persevere to not only begin the movement but sustain it? I remember reading the letters. It's really quite instructive. You see the history of the movement. And I remember one devotee. I'm not going to name names. I'm sure Maharajas probably know. He was an intimate disciple. He helped Prabhupada, help take care of him after his stroke. And then he settled in Hawaii, and there was a Hawaii temple. He sold the temple. Sold the temple and pocketed the money. $40,000. And Prabhupada says, I have received a great shock. This is a great shock. And there were many more shocks to come. But, Prabhupada didn't get discouraged. He didn't just throw up his hand and say, I'm going back to Vrindavan. Forget it. Because there was no hope. In other words, it's an emergency situation. It really is. And the movement needed to go on, and without Prabhupada's care and attention and tolerance, it wouldn't have gone on. So, as in everything, Prabhupada is the perfect example. But also, we need to tolerate, and not only on the grand level of preaching and saving the world, but also on the intimate level, and tolerate each other. Living together in an austere environment and under restriction and all these things. It sometimes seems to be intolerable. Well, I just got on this site, and now I see that things are really happening over there in Madagascar. I'm just going to go over there. That's where it's really. No, we have to really be committed. I know Tirtha Maharaj, when he built up the ashram, that was part of the thing that he preached heavily, to be committed to join and stay and advance and help the yatra. And it's essential. When you realize how much Prabhupada put into these centers, in founding them, in training the devotees, and installing the deities, just this temple itself is a huge preaching entity. Just a place where people can come. There's a congregation, or new people can come, learn about Krishna, see the deities, take some prasadam, get some good association, walk away with a book and an invitation to come back, and the festivals and all these things. It's very significant that this place is here and is being maintained. And so we should feel that, just keeping it clean and being enlivened and welcoming people is a very important service to perform. So I'm just kind of expanding the essence of this verse, which is that Kapila Dev cares about Kardama Muni very much. He's allaying his fears. Kardama Muni is concerned about Devahuti, and he won't take sannyas until he's assured of his care. And so this is the reflective of the divine heart, both in Kapila Dev and his pure devotee Kardama Muni. So we have to somehow cultivate that by process of devotional service, to feel the empathy with every living being, and especially other devotees, and especially with people who are potential devotees. And that will be a very important aspect of our devotional service. Okay, I'm going to read this translation again. Kapila Dev says to Kardama Muni, I shall also describe this sublime knowledge, which is the door to spiritual life, to my mother, so that she also can attain perfection and self-realization, ending all reactions to fruitive activities. Thus she also would be freed from all material fear. Any discussion? Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. You always have some nice comments.
Quick comments, you can churn them as you like.
Okay.
You were talking about, although it's very expensive, they've developed so many things trying to push back disease. But actually, one of the biggest sources of disease admitted by the medical field is hospitals.
Yeah.
They're breeding grounds for disease. They killed my father, frankly. Yeah. But they accept that it's now the protocol to get you out of the hospital as fast as possible, because the longer you're there, the more likely you're to catch some virulent disease that's just been breeding there in their, break room and in the, where they whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're breeding with all their antibiotics.
I know.
What do you call that?
Antibiotic resistant strains.
Yeah, bacteria that are resistant. So they say, get you out of the hospital. So they build up this big thing, but it actually causes disease. You were talking about Prabhupada and, criticizing him. His godbrothers were criticizing him. So I was just listening to a tape, and they're criticizing, I think it's Yasoda Nandana and Guru Kripa reporting that they were in South India, and Gaudiya Mata for their Janmastami, whoever the head of that Gaudiya Mata was so agitated and envious that he read at Janmastami, their Janmastami gathering at that yatra, that center in South India, I forget what city, some newspaper article criticizing misdeeds by the devotees in Japan.
Okay.
Prabhupada's response? At least we have something in Japan. At least we were there and got kicked out, but at least we were there. You've never left, Chennai or Madras or whatever it is. So they may criticize so much.
I know.
And ISKCON has had its issues, sure. But the Gaudiya Mata completely shattered.
I know.
Within a few years, here we are, 50 years later, by Krishna's grace, carrying on. That's no small accomplishment.
Yeah.
And just one last thing you're saying about Prabhupada's tolerance. There's so many examples. Just two quick ones. Rabindra told me that after that Indian professor, religion, went off on Srila Prabhupada, said, your Krishna's immoral. Yeah. Prabhupada said, no, actually, you're immoral. What are you doing with one of Krishna's gopis? As a man who's married. Actually, Krishna's the only Purusha. Everyone's Prakriti. The guy blew up, and Brahmananda threw him out the door.
Time for you to go. Right?
And literally pitched him out the door. But Rabindra said the amazing thing is that one of the things, they were all talking about it later on, and Rabindra's apologist, Prabhupada, I had no idea that he was going to like that, I'm so sorry. Prabhupada's response, I must have offended him in a previous life. He's come in this life to take his revenge. Yeah. That's how Prabhupada took it. And Mukunda says, and every time he tells a story, you'll watch him, he pounds his head. He says, he remembers that Prabhupada used to stand in line to use the bathroom at 26 2nd Avenue, and he remembers cutting in front of Prabhupada. I'll just be a second, Swami. And he cut it in front of Srila Prabhupada. Every night. So talk about tolerance.
Yeah, but they have a word for that in the medical field, the iatrogenic. Iatra means caused by the doctor, by the medicine. I always think two verses here, because I've always had these verses floating around. Of course, one is Prahlad, Bala Sineha Shalam Pitadona Singha, Narta Sachagadam Adamani Majjatom. That Narta Sachagadam means the doctors can't do anything. The end of the verse is, my dear Lashangadev, if you neglect him and you don't bless their efforts, then the father can't protect the son, the doctor can't cure the patient, and some boat you're in is going to sink in the ocean. You think they just... So, and then the other one is, another prayer from Prahlad is, where I forget how the verse begins, but he says, the third line is, Duk aushadam tadapi dukam, that the very means, the aushadi, which is like an herb for curing a misery, is the cause of more misery. It's right there, and that's, he repeats the thing in that same idea in his instructions to his friends. And so this is material life. Punak punaschavata charananam is you're trying to eke out some pleasure where there's no pleasure. But the other one is you're trying to avoid some misery in a new and different way, and you just can't, because that's the nature of this world. So all that time is lost. Rather than getting out of this world and solving all the problems, as he says here, she will be free from all fear. we concoct material ways of curing it, and we just create more problems. So that's part of it. That's the simple living, I think, is the answer. Yes, Prabhu?
I just have a question about the fine line there as far as being concerned about family members, wife or mother or so on, women.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because I was just reading that excerpt on Vishaka's new book. She's in Vrindavan in the Audubon, and she's taking a lot of pictures of the widows. About to point out they just get shuffled off there. But her observation was most of it's quite nice, but how they're just shuffled off to Vrindavan, deposited there because no one wants to take care of it.
Yeah.
But the fine line is here, we're seeing that obviously Kapila, when he's talking about delivering his mother, the transcendental knowledge. But, you know, it's like Mukundada was here for some time, had to take care of his mother and so on. So you got an elderly mother, or a wife, and this and that, and their material needs fall upon the devotee.
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line? Because someone may spend all of his time and resources just taking care of that, because if they don't, not they're going to get shuffled off the Vrindavan, they're going to shuffle off somewhere else.
Yeah, the shuffle off the mortal coil.
Draw the line, and what kind of lines are drawn as far as...
This is part of the dilemma, you know, what Prabhupada is outlining in his purport, the ideal, the Vedic culture, you know, so you have these support systems, you know, and it's always like, yes, the elder son, yeah, the perfect, well, where's that elder son now? You know, because of technology, because of the, as soon as generally the families shatter. Someone grows up in Chicago, and the kid goes to school in New York, gets his job there, you know. So, and the way things are, he's not about to give up his career or even damage it for taking care of his elder mother, who's sitting there in, you know, somewhere in New Jersey, you know. And maybe he'll call her up once a week, that's about it, you know. But this is what you're faced with. So as far as devotees go, there have been many cases. I was very fortunate in that my mother took care of my father when he was going. I mean, she was in pretty good shape. And then later, when my mother got sick, my brother took care of her. So I was able to visit and call. But we've seen many devotees, you know, they because they have the soft heart, they'll go and do whatever they can for their parents. But as you say, okay, but what happens to your spiritual life? This can go on for years and years and years. Do you compromise your own spiritual principles? You know, mother or father, you know, nowadays it's may absolutely refuse, you know, to be a vegetarian. So now you end up, you know, you're doing that. So how do you balance? How do you balance it? And I don't have an easy answer to it. I mean, of course, oftentimes there's another sibling who can come in. I don't know if Mukundada's mother actually passed away while he was here. She did?
I know the story about Mukunda's mother,
That?
mom.
Oh, you do?
She was supposed to die in 6 weeks.
Acha.
He was just coming out 4 weeks, 6 weeks. He started bringing her prasadam from the temple. She completely revived. No, but she started coming to the Sunday feast. The doctors couldn't figure out what was happening. She started chanting, you know, at his place.
Wow.
He was here for how long? He was here for...
No, he came. Yeah, he would come back again and again. Yeah, he would stay with me sometimes.
So here was this moral dilemma. He asked to talk to me about it. He said, "What do I do?" He said, "I got to get back to Vrindavan, back to my BBT work.
Yeah.
Do I cut her off prasadam so she dies? You know, what do I do? You know." But she did eventually pass away. But she was around for like I think.
No, he would spend years. He wasn't constantly here, but he would come and spend months and then go back and come back. Yeah.
He was spent a lot of time.
There was.
And nobody could figure out what it was. And we finally, you know, by elimination, the only thing that had changed in the equation was that he was bringing her prasadam.
Yes.
We were talking about like showing mercy, going out and preaching.
Yeah.
And we often see examples of devotees going out, you know, all over the world, making many disciples all over the world, in the name of spreading Krishna consciousness to a large number of people.
Yeah.
But it seems like on the flip side, that sort of strategy could also spread the guru's ability thin in terms of having a relationship with individual disciples, which could then, seems like it could make it difficult for the disciples to make
Difficult for the guru.